Wisconsin State Senator Glenn Grothman is under fire tonight for his very blunt attack on Kwanzaa, a holiday that millions of people around the world hold dear. In a press release titled, "Why Must We Still Hear About Kwanzaa?" the Republican lawmaker slammed the holiday's creator, Maulana Karenga, saying, quote, "Karenga was a racist and didn't like the idea that Christ died for all of our sins, so he felt blacks should have their own holiday, hence Kwanzaa." End quote. But he went on to say this, quote, "Of course, almost no black people today care about Kwanzaa, just white left-wingers who try to shove this down black people's throats in an effort to divide Americans. Mainstream Americans must be more outspoken on this issue," he continued, and said it is time it's slapped down once and for all. The quote continues, "Be on the lookout. If a K through 12 or college teacher tries to tell your children or grandchildren it's a real holiday." End quote. Well, as you can imagine, Senator Grothman's message is pretty clear, and his remarks have offended a whole lot of people, and he's kind enough to join me now live. Senator, that's pretty tough language. Did you not expect to feel some heat on this one?
No, because we sent out something like this about 12 years ago and it was really no big deal. I think the underlying problem here is not enough TV types, when they talk about Kwanzaa, talk about the horrible, racist, violent past of its founder. And if they knew the past, I think Kwanzaa would die a quick death. Well, you've got to remember, Ron Karenga... Okay,
Go ahead.
Ron Karenga, the founder of Kwanzaa, who just founded it in 1966, was a black separatist who felt the Black Panthers didn't dislike white people enough. The group that he founded wound up shooting a couple of Black Panthers. He himself, for committing physical violence against women, had to spend time in prison. Now, I think the idea that our country would celebrate a special holiday created by this guy before he committed these acts of violence, and now we're going to say, oh, we must talk about this to the kindergarten children and how wonderful this holiday is ridiculous.
Well, you got to admit, though, sir, that the holiday itself doesn't celebrate the founder. The holiday itself is actually kind of nice. I mean, if you look at its principles, and here they are: unity, self-determination, collective work, responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. That sounds pretty nice.
Well, I'm sure if you go through the ramblings of even some of the worst tyrants in history, you can say that they're for peace or unity or hard work or that sort of thing. But when you have such a horrible person who founded this new holiday solely to promote, or in part to promote, his goofy ideology, I think we'd all have to agree that most Americans wouldn't choose to celebrate this holiday.
Well, what proof
like you'd
do you
celebrate
have,
Christmas,
though, sir,
or Thanksgiving.
But what proof do you have that he founded this holiday solely to promote his goofy ideas? I mean, these are ideas that I think most Americans hold very dear: family, unity, faith, goodwill.
Why don't you Google him? You look at anything in the background, things he said at the time.
I don't get my proof from Google. I'm asking you for your proof. You're a state senator. You should be better than Google.
Okay, the proof is the things he said at the time. He did not like Christianity because, of course, he considered Christianity is a religion for all Americans and all people all around the world. He felt that blacks should not be part of Christianity, have a different holiday. He was a Marxist, and he did beat up and physically abused the women who were his followers. His own followers shot 2 Black Panthers. Is this the type of guy we want to have as a founder of a holiday that we're promoting around America? And quite frankly, I think if most news anchor types, before they did a nice feel-good story about Kwanzaa, presented exactly what Ron Karenga was really about, it would never get off the ground in the first place.
I'm a news anchor type, and I'm going to put this to you right now. I wanted to get some straight answers out of you, and I wanted you to get a challenge. And CNN approached you about this interview and asked you to appear with Roland Martin, who's a CNN commentator who's very, very passionate about this issue. He wanted to challenge you on this, and you refused. You said you didn't want to appear with someone who would defend Kwanzaa. Why on earth would you do that?
Oh, that's not true at all. I'd be happy to appear with someone who defend Kwanzaa. But you're completely distorting the comments that we had earlier in the day. Earlier in the day, I said if we were going to have a discussion as to how many black people cared about Kwanzaa.
Okay, before you even go on, if we've made a mistake,
completely distorting
I've got Roland Martin ready to go. So if I've made a mistake, will you appear with Roland Martin right now? Because he is dying to get a question in. Is that okay, sir?
Well, I would be happy to take a question.
Okay,
from
fire away, Roland. You've
gentleman.
got your time. Way you go.
Sure. I would ask the senator, you look at Easter. That was derived from a pagan holiday. And so do you defend that? You talk about a made-up holiday. Please tell me which of the holidays we celebrate in America that have descended from on high and that actually were granted to us when we were born. Aren't all holidays actually created and made up by someone?
Well, the question, first of all, they are not created and made up by somebody, but even say a holiday like Thanksgiving, which is a holiday that was created by the U.S. Congress. Okay, Thanksgiving is something that I think we all can appreciate. It was not created by somebody out of a desire to separate Americans, white and black. It was not created out of somebody who had, soon after he created the holiday, beaten up his own followers and he had to go to prison for it.
I asked you about Easter. Easter is a pagan holiday. It derives from a pagan holiday in Europe. No, actually,
if you feel that Christianity is a pagan religion, then I suppose you're going to tell us that Christianity and Easter
I'm sorry, Senator.
Is
Senator, I'm a Christian.
Holiday.
Senator, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian author.
Okay.
My wife is an ordained minister. What I'm saying is, if you look at the origin of Easter, it actually was a combination of Christianity and also the pagan holiday where people walked around and painted themselves. Why do you think we get the painted eggs? What I'm simply saying is, you're denouncing the holiday because you don't like the individual. All I'm simply asking you is, if you don't like it, fine. But if there are people out there across America who celebrate unity, who celebrate purpose, who celebrate faith, what's the big deal? Your attack. So if your attack is on him, okay, knock yourself out. But if there are people who appreciate the principles, what's the problem with that? Are you saying no unity in America? Is that wrong? Is that bad?
No. Anybody can celebrate any holiday they want. The problem I have is when they talk about the holiday without giving its history, or given the limited amount of time we have in our public schools, when they decide to use that time to promote Kwanzaa and present it as a holiday that millions of people ought to be following, rather than the...
So you don't want...
let me jump in here, gentlemen. Let me jump in. Senator, if you suggest that the history is at issue, some of the historical ancient roots of Kwanzaa have to do with a fruit festival. And it just so happens that the fruit festival was at the end of the year, which is right around Christmas and New Year. So if there's any allegation that Kwanzaa was some attempt to divide white and black people in Christianity, it would seem that timeline would sort of nullify that argument. And in the same vein, I want to ask you...
I think you have to do a little bit of research.
I did.
You got to do some research.
I just gave it to you.
It was
That's
designed
research.
specifically to be a holiday that was separate from Christmas because he wanted his own holiday.
He, the person you're referring to, says it has nothing to do with Christmas. It only has to do with culture. Let me ask you this. This whole issue that you said almost no black people today care about Kwanzaa. Wait, one sec, sir, please. You said almost no black people today care about Kwanzaa, just white left-wingers. I want to read for you this statement, and I'm going to quote it verbatim. Kwanzaa strengthens the ties that bind communities across America and around the world and reflects the great promise and diversity of America. Do you remember who said that?
Absolutely, I remember it. It was one of the reasons why George Bush was kind of an irritating president for some of us.
But was he a right left winger? Come on, this is borderline ridiculous. Was George W. Bush a white left winger with a comment like that?
Actually, he was a born again Christian.
I think there are some politicians who would try to ingratiate themselves to anybody, and that's the way some politicians are.
Okay, can I ask you this? What is the harm?
And it's possible
honestly,
to...
I have never seen anyone raise a pitchfork or a fist to celebrate Kwanzaa. What is the harm in allowing people to celebrate a cultural holiday?
Nobody is preventing anybody from celebrating it.
You just asked for it to be wiped off.
You're whining about it.
Well, we obviously can't wipe it out of every 300 million Americans. What we can do is we can say that before it's presented as some special holiday before the school children of America, we point out the background of the holiday and why it was created. And I think if we do that, it will quickly disappear.
You know what? You know what, Ashleigh? I heard people just like him who use similar critiques to say why we shouldn't have a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, and because, he was somehow a communist. And look, even the senator, you know, he chooses to keep his state office open on MLK Day, if you do the research. And so I'm just curious to him, is it okay that we celebrate MLK Day? Is that okay? Can we get your permission?
Sure, there's a big difference. Martin Luther King was a
I'm just checking,
American.
just checking.
Did
Ron
you keep your office open on Columbus Day, Senator?
Isn't there a kind of a big difference?
Did you keep your office open on that federal holiday, Columbus Day?
Well, we all have our offices open on Columbus Day, right?
Okay. Because some people complain that Columbus also, and Columbus Day is something that we shouldn't observe because a lot of people died.
Well, Columbus was the person who founded America kind of on behalf of the Eastern Hemisphere, and the vast majority of people who are benefiting from America today.
I think if you ask a lot of Native Americans, they'd be pretty upset about the idea that we celebrate how America ended up being founded.
Senator,
a lot
come on,
of people do.
You can't pick and choose. You can't pick and choose. Also, I'm just curious, should we celebrate Valentine's Day? I mean, surely that was created from on high. I mean, again, though, you're sitting here, you know, making your critique when Valentine's Day was a retail holiday.
It was created. I don't think it was created by someone only 40 years ago who was a violent person and a racist person.
Was Columbus violent? Was Columbus violent?
No, Columbus was not a violent man.
All right,
Columbus wasn't a violent man.
I'm going to have to end it there.
It's clear you don't study history, sir.
State Senator Glenn Grothman and Roland Martin, thank you both for your time. Thank you for this debate. And look out Valentine's Day because Cupid had an arrow. Thanks to both of you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all.